Hello, all you wonderful humans. I'm here today because I was requested to do a video using my distress crayons for our friend Sherry. She received them as a gift and wanted me to just show her how I use them. So really quick, I'm just going to show some pages that I found that I have done distress crayons with. This is a really simple brushed on background I did with distress crayons. And then in Pop Manga Cute and Creepy, I did an entire page all in distress crayons and gelatos. So even the two little monsters here on this page were colored using the distress crayons. So the yellows, the pinks, the purples, the teal, the entire background is distress crayons and gelatos. Now if I pull it up, maybe we can say, so like right here, there's a shiny bit. That's a gelato. And next to it is the distress crayons. I just went through all my like watery based mediums, like crayon-y type things, and found things that worked and added them all to this page. So that is what I've done in the past that I was immediately able to find. You know, because I don't keep track like that. Like I don't have a book that tells me, oh, I use distress crayons on all of these things. So what I'm going to work on today is Camellia Angelkova's 50 Autumn Miniatures. I pre-gessoed and sanded the page. And I thought this would be a really fun one for fall. And I should be able to get a couple different ideas of how I use the distress crayons because I'll use them directly on it. I'll use them with water, and I will also use them with a brush. Okay, there's only so much area to work in. So we have our book. I have my water bowl and a towel and some paint brushes. I also have my blending palette, which is just a glass cutting board with some texture to it from the Dollar Tree. And I have a stencil brush as well. And I also have my 3 plastic boxes of distress crayons. I don't have my swatches, so this is going to be a challenge for me because, you know, I like to swatch just about everything. So I hope you're interested in seeing what we come up with. So what I was thinking is obviously these are going to be fall leaves because they're fall leaves. We've got some acorns, some mushrooms, some sort of little crab apple, another mushroom, and some pumpkins, and what appears to be like a hedgehog. We also have some words we can play with there, and we have a background inside and outside of the drawing. Okay, so I've got mustard seed, and I'm going to start with that and put some highlight spots on my pumpkins. You can use these without gesso if you're not using too much water, but what I have found is that they move longer if I leave them with gesso. So there's some yellow, and then my next was this dried marigold. I'm going to put that around the outside of that and bring it down and around. I just want to start with the highlights so it's easier to put them in the beginning than to fight it later. And I'm going to come in like that around my other guy and get a little more on these sides. So we don't want them to be too dark. I like it to be a little bit, you know, on the happy pumpkin side. And then we have a spiced marmalade. And I'm going to bring that in on top of that. Now I'm saying you don't have to work too fast, but you don't want to let everything sit too long either. Because it will start to dry up on you. But like I said, with the gesso, you can usually get it to move around a little longer. I'm just filling this out like that. And then I'm going to take this Rusty Hinge, which is a darker orange, and just give us some shading into the sides and things. And this is the thing with this, is you can come back in and add more as needed after you've done the initial lay down. I just like to try and get all my colors on at once because I feel like I'm not working on the same thing forever. But get them all in there and around that little guy. And then I want a little brown on some of this pumpkin. So let's try this one. That is a bit dark, but not too bad. That's Vintage Photo, and I have Gathered Twigs, which I like the color of that better. So I'm going to go ahead around just the bottoms, right up against our little guy there, our hedgehoggy friend, and get some more color in there. And then up around the stem as well, just to round it out some. Okay, so we've got everything we need on it. Now I'm just going to grab a paintbrush and my towel. And if anybody's wondering, this is an ashtray. David found it for me because the skull glows in the dark. So I really like it. But I'm starting into the lightest part first, and then just circling out to the darkest. And I'm using very little water because we don't need that much water. And then I'm going to come down here and grab that brown and just kind of start to pull it up into our pumpkin. And this paintbrush doesn't want to do anything. I'm using like really old brushes. I try to use them until I feel like they're done. So now I'm just kind of pulling some of our color into the center where we made it lighter. We don't want to like cover the whole thing, but we do want to make it so it's not like just a yellow spot in the center. So there's our first part of that. And same thing, start from the yellow on this one and come out to your darker colors and drag them down to the lower parts of the pumpkin. And then you're on this brown piece, which I'm going to pull up a little into the other pieces. So there's that one. I'm just doing it like sections, like I was going to say like an orange, but I guess sections like a pumpkin because it's a pumpkin. Now I'm just coming in here and cleaning up where I accidentally colored over the edges. It's not terribly important. I just like to try and work that stuff as I go in order to not have to clean it all up later. And you might not have to, depending on what you decide to use for your background. Sometimes these crayons get these little balls of color, I don't know how else to call it, that come off when you color directly onto the paper. So I just use a flicking motion and try and collect them on my paintbrush to get rid of them. And then I'm going to come back in here over this yellow bit again. There we go. So yeah, Sherry was asking, how do we use these in a way that she can use them in her books? And so like I said, I'll show a couple techniques. We've got this one where we color it on directly and then we can paint it out. Now I'm making this brown purposely a little darker here because I want it to be like a shadow because there are little guys in front of it. And the great thing is too, is while you're doing this, you can drag your color, like say I think there's not enough brown over here, I can drag that over from this side. And we're still able to move, which is nice. Like I said, with the gesso, you can get some extra time. If you were to do this on dry paper, it would just sink into the paper, which makes it a little harder to move. So it would be kind of, the page I showed you in the Camilla de Erico book, I put it on dry, but I was like putting on like an inch worth of it, you know, maybe an inch of space on the page. I was putting it on, and then I was running in there with my finger and smudging it down, and then I was just doing that over and over again for the entire 2-page spread. If I was to do it over, I would do what I'm doing now. I'm going to go on to our hedgehog. Again, I don't feel like it has to be cleaned up, but I'm just showing you how you can get it cleaned up if you go outside the lines and it's like, I don't know, something that's supposed to be, say, lighter than the thing next to it. You can get that picked up. So, okay, I'm happy with how this looks, but, like, I don't know about your pumpkins, but our pumpkins always have something kind of green on them. And that's a good green for this. So I just want to give them some, like, green patches. One right there, too. Because all our pumpkins have that. So I'm not going to move this out too much because I just want it to look like a green patch on the pumpkin. So you don't want to blend out the color too far, but you do want to blend it so that it doesn't look like it's just a blob. And there's our pumpkin all ready to go for Halloween. And I'm hoping it looks good because the lighting when I'm filming is directly over the picture. So from sitting back, it's hard to tell. I think he's fine. I just want to get a little more water in here and clear up some spots so that it looks like he's got a little more highlights on him. But that is what he looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and get our other pumpkin started. I will color him off camera and then come back in and show the next part. And there's our pumpkins. They're still drying. We're going to go ahead and do the stems. And I did like the green we had, but I want to add some, not necessarily brown, but some other green to it. So let's see if this one's dark enough. This one is Forest Moss. And those are about the same. So I'm not going to get a lot of contrast between these two. So I'm going to go ahead and use peeled paint. I guess we'll pull this vintage photo that was too dark brown for the pumpkins. So everything's a little damp, like I said. So I'm not trying to get anything moved around on here. Just want to get the color laid down. And of course I've got it on that mushroom, which is okay. And then I'm going to go in and color our stems. I'll do one and then I'll go away and come back with the second one finished. Or like I said, it'll be sped up. I'm not sure what I'm doing yet. Just depends on how long the video is and what I think I can successfully manage when editing. So we started again at the lightest bit, you know, the green, and then we're pulling down into the brown. And this one has those little chunks in it, like I said. I don't think these are perfect. I mean, I love my Neocolor 2s, and even they leave some kind of chunks, and you have to kind of fight them back. So, because it could be worse. So then I'm just pulling it up into the edges, you know, to give a little contrast. And I'm making sure that there's no solid lines. Okay, all of the pumpkins are done. It's only taken us 21 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and show another technique in case there's people that don't really want to watch the entire video. At least they can see different ways to use their distress crayons. I'm just moving some orange around again. So I'm going to go ahead and do an inside the circle, because I don't know if I'm going to make a background for outside of the circle. So I'm just going to put some of the shabby shutters on my board. So I can't really show you everything all at the same time. So let me figure out. I'll put that there. It's visible. I'll move this up a little so that the whole circle's in the frame. I am only looking to color inside of this circle. And this color may not be, this was shabby shutters. This may not be dark enough for what I want, but we'll find out. I'm going to start over here because this one's a little bit drier. And you just circular motions. And like I said, because you're on the gesso, you should be able to spread this out a little further if needed. So you don't have to worry about it drying up really, really fast. And I just want to get it to where it halos out. But I also want to get in there with those mushrooms. So if you get it over things, that's why we're kind of going with something light. Because I want to get up against them. Up against all the objects. But I don't want to, you know, color them this green. Alright, so you just get that down in there. And then just pull it towards the center. I'm hoping on screen that looks like what it's supposed to. So I come in right on the edge and fan out. And I'm not worried about the letters because I can go over them with marker or whatever once I decide what they're going to look like. And right here we've got like a little, I have smaller brushes, but I'm really lazy. I have like this little spot right here in between the leaf and the acorn. So I'm just kind of jamming the color in there. And again, pull it out towards the center. Because the center is where you don't want a lot of color. So again, I'm just putting it into that spot between the leaves. And again, not worried because I'm coloring those leaves later. And I can add color on top of this. So I'm just pulling it out towards the center again. I want to get a little more color in there because I feel like it's light. Yeah, so like you can see there's like really weird little spots we got to get in. But the acorns are going to be brown. So if there's a yellow to them underneath, not really noticeable. You can also take your finger and blend it out, which I'm not usually a fan of because now I have green fingers. And I'm going to need a little more crayon on my palette. I'm just getting in there and all around. Okay, so just get that all in your little creases between the leaves and around the leaves and spread it out. I got a lot on that piece because it had the little chunks and I'm picking them apart. So now I want to go back and add a little bit more through here to kind of match. And that's the thing, you can keep going back and forth all day if you wanted. It's just gonna, you know, you're gonna wind up coloring the entire thing because you go back and forth like that. So that one's a little thick in there, but I'm not mad at it. So we're gonna let that be and come further down. and get between those leaves and around this acorn. Alright, so you get the idea. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this part up and come back. Okay, so I went and got the rest of my stencil brushes, which are here. They come in 3 sizes. Let me get them under the camera. I hope they're... Where are we at? There we are. So they're 3 sizes. We've been using the big one. I'm going to go ahead in with this really tiny one with the shabby shutters, which I think might be too light to make a difference. I just want to come in at the bottoms of everywhere and add a little extra depth. I am taking a little bit of paint or water and coming up here, and I'm trying, like I said, trying to stay out of your way, but it's kind of hard. There's a little smushy spot here from where there was a, oh, I don't know, these little chunks that come off the crayon. I just want them off our page because they will smear. So that is the other way you can do it. I prefer the painting method, but you can do it either way. So I think what I'm going to do now is the acorns. And for the acorn faces, let me get some pens here, or crayons here. I like that color. I'm going to use that for this part of the acorn, and for the caps. Is there enough color difference? Yes. We're going to use this gathered twig. And I want to highlight color. Yep. Alright, so that's Tattered Rose. We're going to use that and tea dye to do the bottoms. And then the caps I'm going to do with the gathered twigs. So I'm going to go ahead and start one of these so you can see it from start to finish. And then I will speed up again so that you're not here with me all day. I mean, not that I like having you here, but you don't want to be here forever. So that's my light. I hesitate to use the word dark for this, but this is my dark. And I am just coloring in that whole bottom of the acorn. I don't know what those are called. And we'll get this acorn colored. And again, start on the light side. Work your way into the dark. And you can clean your brush. Like, I feel like I have a little bit too much of the dark. And I don't want all that coming over into the light. So I cleaned off a good bit of the dark so I could blend out more without it turning the whole acorn dark. I hope that makes sense. And I'm coming back into the light just to clean it up. I'm using, I got a secondary camera set up, and I'm using that today, so I hope we're okay on volume. I'll try to edit what I can if it's a mess, but I don't know how this one works yet. Alright, and I want to just come back in and push back the dark again, because I want a couple good light spots in it. There we go. I am happy with you. I just wish there wasn't a shadow, but I have one light set up. Okay, so that's the bottom of my acorn. And then I need to do the top. And I said we're just going to use gathered twigs. You can also paint directly from the tip of your crayon onto your paintbrush, like that. It seems to me to take too long. So I don't really do that. Alright, and so this is just one color because I couldn't figure out what I would do for a second. So like I said, if I feel like it needs some shading, I'll just come back in here with a pencil right quick. You know, because it's not a lot of work. But there is our acorn cap. I'm just trying to get it up against the edges. And there we go. So now we have one acorn. So I'm going to go ahead and color the mushroom with old paper. If I can get it open. And I'm going to do this. And then right after, I'm going to take, I believe it's frayed burlap, which I just checked on, and add that to do the shading. But I'm going to do it straight from the crayon so you can kind of see a different way to utilize these. That might be helpful. Like I said, I don't enjoy doing it. I prefer to just lay down my light color and then lay down my dark color and smush them together. Because you still got to smush them together. If you put the paintbrush to the crayon and then bring it over to the paper too, I still have to smush everybody down. But you do have a greater control as to where you're putting your shadow or your darker colors. So, I mean, it's, you know, up to you. There's my crayon. I am literally just getting paint off of this with water. I like to test because I forget. Okay, I'm getting a good amount of color. So I'm just going to get a little bit more. I'm going to go into the cap. All under there. Because that would be dark. And will be dark along this edge. And like I said, I just bring it up. Now I feel like it's going too far, so I'll push it back with the lighter color into its little corner there where it belongs. There, that's pretty good. And then we're going to have it all along. Well, I've got to get enough off. All along this bottom edge of the stem. And under there, definitely. Because that would be overshadowed by the top of the cap. So there's that. A little bit more water. And then I'm going to come do this edge. A little more pink. Alright, so there's our really simple mushroom. And so I've got mustard seed, twisted citron, peeled paint. Alright, let's do what we do. We're going to put the yellow in the center. I'm going to throw this twisted citron. This one's messy. It's got little bumps all over it. I'm going to throw that through here, up around there, because those will be our light spots. And then this is the peeled paint. Very carefully through there. I don't want too much of that. And we'll see what that does, because I don't know what I'm doing. You know, I play. And sometimes it works and sometimes not so much. But there's our yellow. And then we're going to smush it out into the bright green, because there's green apples in the fall. So we're going to just keep working. I'm trying to avoid the darker green that we put on. So this is the thing, when you don't have all the colors for something, you kind of have to, you know, play a bit. I mean, I could always change and do this part in pencil, but if I'm showing something, I like to show most of the work being done with these items, which is the distress crayons at this time. I don't like to add too many other things. Like when I color on my own, I'll use all kinds of stuff. But if I'm showing off how something works, then I like to try to stay within the range of the product I have. So now I'm just going to pull that darker green up and in and around this mushroom, since that's going to be, you know, it's in front of this apple. So I'd like to get a little of it going that way. And you can do, it's like a give and take. I can pull the dark green in and I can pull the lighter green towards the edges, and it'll start to change the color of what we're looking at. I want to look up and see if my hand's in the way, but I don't want to stop because I've got some movement. No, I'm not. Cool. I'm not in your way. Always a plus if you can see what's happening. Alright, so I'm just activating all this green. And it doesn't take long. It's just I'm choosing to not use a lot of water. Even though I put gesso on the page, the more water I add, the more I'm going to have to deal with it. And it can start to pull up the color too much. So I prefer not to have to deal with that at all. So I start off really light with my water and kind of, you know, go in and out. I just want to make sure that we're dark enough and we don't have any lines. I don't like lines. I like a smooth blend. And that's as far as I can work that right now. I feel like it's okay. I might go back and do a little more if it dries up. And then I'm going to use this Walnut Stain and get some of that on my brush and just paint this. Of course, my brush was too wet. I'm just going to paint the stem right quick. And see, this is why I don't like painting from the brush. Or painting from the crayon to the paintbrush, because I can't really tell what's on the brush. So I just have to keep going back and forth, and I really don't like it. There we go. Okay, so now we have that mushroom done, and we have that apple done. I think next up we're going to do these mushrooms. And like I said, I don't have any red, so we're going to have to make a red. Because I don't know why mushrooms are red. I know they're clearly not. I know we can make them any color we want. I can never stop myself from making them red. So I'm going to use the tea dye. And I'm just going to do these mushroom stems. And maybe I'll be able to color them a different color. Who knows? But I'm just going to go ahead in and do that. Okay, our stems are completed, and I still don't know what I want to do with these for red. or if they're going to be red. I think I'm going to go ahead and paint this little hedgehog guy because I don't know what I want. So I'm going to take black soot and just put a little bit on his nose. And I hope, if not informative, you're at least finding the video entertaining. I wish this was like a live stream, and because Sherry had asked for this video, she could ask questions or tell me what else she wants to see. Because I don't know. Just doing his little pupils too. So here I'm going to get it off the crayon again. I'm not in frame at all for that. And I'm just going to very carefully get it in there. This is why I like to use a very small paintbrush all the time. You just have better control. There, now he has little black pupils. Then we have to color him. He's a hedgehog, so he's brown. I just feel like we're just not getting a lot of colors, but it is fall. Fall is a brown season. I'm going to go ahead with these gathered twigs. And we're going to try something here. So we did the gathered twigs, and then I'm going to take the tea dye as well and come back in and that. And if I color this, I think, in circles, I should be able to get a little bit of an idea of both colors in there. And I don't want them to be mixed together too well either. So let's wet a paintbrush and find out. What color eyes should he have? We'll give him like blue eyes. Why not? He can have any color eyes he wants, right? I mean, I know they're probably supposed to be brown, but I don't like supposed to. I hope I'm getting enough blue here. Yeah, there we go. Nice tealy blue. This hedgehog has beautiful eyes. And then we have to color the inside of his ears. And we're going to go with this tattered rose because it's sort of pink. The other one's like a very pale pink. And there's his ears. So we have to do the tops of our mushrooms and our leaves. And then the finishing touches and we'll be done. Hi, y'all. Editing Pixie here, and I just came in to let you know that unfortunately the video ran too long when I was editing it, so I decided to split it into two, and this is the end of part 1, and tomorrow part 2 will be out, so stay tuned and have a very colorful day. Bye.